Hi, everyone. Quick one for you. Make sure you subscribe and like before we start. Thank you. I arrived home earlier than expected. The drive was smooth, my meeting wrapped up quicker than anticipated. I've got that familiar warmth in my chest, the kind that only comes from knowing I'm about to surprise my wife. I imagine the smile on her face when she sees me walk through the door, the way her eyes will light up. But as I step inside, something feels off. The house is quiet. Too quiet. It's a stillness that prickles the back of my neck. I close the door behind me, the click of the latch louder than usual in the silence. My footsteps echo as I walk through the hallway, my eyes scanning the familiar surroundings. Everything is in its place, yet something is different. It's like I'm walking through a scene that's been altered ever so slightly, just enough to make me uneasy. I call out her name, but there's no response. The air feels heavy, charged with something I can't quite put my finger on. I step into the living room, my eyes sweeping over the room, looking for anything out of place. The cushions on the couch are a little too perfectly arranged, the remote on the coffee table slightly askew, like someone put it down in a hurry. I head upstairs, the creak of each step amplifying the tension gnawing at me. The door to our bedroom is ajar. I push it open slowly, my heart pounding harder with every inch. The bed is made, but there's a faint scent in the air, something musky and unfamiliar. It's the smell that stops me in my tracks. It's wrong, out of place. My chest tightens as I approach the bed, my eyes catching a glint of something on the nightstand. Her phone. I pick it up, the screen still lit with a message. My thumb hovers over the screen, a cold sweat breaking out across my forehead. I know I shouldn't, but I do. I swipe it open. The message is from an unknown number, the words hitting me like a punch to the gut. Can't wait to see you tonight. My breath catches in my throat. My hand tightens around the phone, my knuckles turning white. The room starts to spin as the reality of it sinks in. She's cheating on me. The woman I've devoted my life to, the woman I've loved with every fiber of my being, has betrayed me. I slump onto the bed, the mattress sinking under my weight. The phone slips from my hand, falling onto the sheets with a soft thud. My mind races, 1,000 thoughts colliding at once. How long has this been going on? Who is he? Why? My heart pounds in my chest, the pain almost physical, like someone squeezing it with a vice. I stare at the phone, the message burning into my brain. Everything I thought I knew, everything I believed about us, about her, is a lie. And in that moment, I know nothing will ever be the same again. I don't sleep that night. The text message plays on a loop in my mind, each word digging deeper into my chest. By morning, I've made up my mind. I need to know who he is, what she's doing, and why she's doing this to me. It feels like a storm is brewing inside me, something dark and unstoppable. I leave the house before she wakes up, barely aware of where I'm going. I drive aimlessly for a while, trying to get a grip on my thoughts. But all I can see is her with him. My hands grip the steering wheel so hard my knuckles turn white. I have to find out who he is. It's not just about her anymore. It's about him. I pull over, my breath coming in sharp bursts. I need a plan. I start with her phone. It's the obvious place to look, but I have to be careful. I can't let her know I'm on to her. Not yet. When I get home, she's in the shower. I slip into the bedroom, find her phone, and start scrolling. My heart races as I search through her messages, her call logs, her photos. There's nothing. She's smart. She's covered her tracks well. But that text is still there, hanging like a noose around my neck. Can't wait to see you tonight. I have to be smarter. I start watching her, noting every detail. She's careful, but not careful enough. There are small things. She's more distant. She's spending more time away, and she's always got a ready excuse. She still smiles at me, still kisses me goodnight, but it feels like a performance. I know her too well. She's hiding something, and I'm going to find out what. That evening, she tells me she's going out with friends. I nod, acting like I believe her. My heart pounds in my chest, but I keep my face calm. I kiss her on the cheek, telling her to have fun. She smiles, but there's something off about it. I watch her leave, then grab my keys. I'm going to follow her. She drives across town to a part of the city we never go to. I keep my distance, my pulse racing. She parks in front of a nondescript building, a private sauna. I watch her get out of the car, adjusting her dress, her movements slow and deliberate. My mouth goes dry. I feel like I'm choking. She's meeting him here. My hands shake as I watch her disappear inside. I wait for what feels like hours. Every second that passes, my mind conjures images of what they're doing. It's unbearable. Finally, I can't take it anymore. I get out of the car and approach the building. The front desk clerk barely looks up as I pass by. I move through the dimly lit halls, the smell of steam and sweat heavy in the air. I know what I'm about to see, but I need to see it. I need to burn the image into my brain. I find the sauna they're in. There's a small window in the door, and through it, I see them. They're sitting close, too close. His hand is on her thigh, her head tipped back as she laughs at something he says. The sound of it, even muffled by the door, sends a wave of nausea through me. I can't stand it. My hand is on the door handle before I even realize what I'm doing. I push it open with a force that startles them both. They look up, eyes wide with shock. My wife gasps, scrambling to cover herself, but it's too late. I've seen enough. "Who the hell are you, dear?" the guy demands, standing up. He's younger than me, taller, with a smug expression that makes me want to break his face. I don't answer. I can't. The rage inside me is like a tidal wave, crashing over everything. I lunge at him, my fist connecting with his jaw. The impact sends him sprawling, his head hitting the wooden bench with a sickening thud. My wife screams, but it barely registers. All I see is him. He's groaning, trying to get up, but I'm on him before he can. I hit him again and again, each punch harder than the last. "Stop! You're going to kill him," she's yelling, pulling at my arm, but I shrug her off like she's nothing. I don't care. I want him to suffer. I want them both to suffer. "Is this what you wanted?" I shout at her, my voice hoarse. "Is this what you were sneaking around for?" She's crying now, backing away from me. "Please stop. You don't understand." "Don't understand?" I grab her arm, pulling her close. "What don't I understand, huh? You think I'm stupid? You think I wouldn't find out?" "He's just a friend," she sobs, but the lie only fuels my anger. "A friend?" I spit the words out. "You think I'm going to buy that bullshit?" The guy on the floor is trying to crawl away, blood dripping from his mouth. I kick him in the ribs, the sound of bones cracking under my foot satisfying in a way that scares me. I've never been a violent man, but right now I feel like I could kill him, kill them both, and not feel a damn thing. "Please, let's just go home," she begs, her voice shaking. Home? The word tastes bitter. The place we built together, filled with memories, now feels like a lie. How could she do this? How could she throw everything away for this piece of trash? I release her, turning my attention back to him. He's whimpering now, pathetic and weak. I grab him by the collar, lifting him off the ground. "You think you can take what's mine? You think you can just walk away from this?" "Please, I'm sorry," he babbles, his words slurred by the blood filling his mouth. "Sorry?" I laugh, the sound harsh and grating. "You're going to be a lot sorrier in a minute." I drag him to the door, ignoring my wife's frantic pleas. I'm beyond reasoning, beyond caring. I'm running on pure instinct, driven by a need to make them pay. I lock the door behind us, trapping them inside. They won't escape this. I head to my car, the cold air biting at my skin. I feel nothing but the burning rage inside me. I open the trunk and pull out the axe and the coil of rope I keep there. They were meant for a camping trip we never took, but now they'll serve a different purpose. I return to the sauna, the weight of the axe in my hand feeling natural, almost comforting. My wife's eyes widen in horror as she sees it, her hands flying to her mouth. "Oh my God, what are you doing?" I ignore her, focusing on the man who's now trembling on the floor. "You like playing with fire?" I ask, my voice cold. "Well, after a good sauna, it's time to cool down." I grab the guy by the hair, dragging him toward the door. He's sobbing, pleading for mercy, but I'm past that point. I'm past everything except this. My wife is screaming, trying to pull me back, but I shake her off again. She made her choice. Now they both have to face the consequences. I haul him outside, the night air filled with his pathetic cries. I push him onto the ground, raising the axe. For a moment, time stands still. It's like the world is holding its breath, waiting to see what I'll do. My heart is pounding, my muscles tense. I could end him right here. I could make this all go away, but something stops me. A tiny voice in the back of my mind, barely audible over the roar of my fury, telling me this isn't who I am. I hesitate, the axe trembling in my grip, and in that split second, everything changes. The door to the sauna slams open and my wife rushes out, throwing herself between me and the man on the ground. Please, she begs, tears streaming down her face. Don't do this. We can fix this. We can still fix this. Her words cut through the haze of anger like a knife. I stare at her, at the fear and desperation in her eyes, and suddenly the weight of what I'm doing crashes down on me. I lower the axe, my hands shaking. What the hell am I doing? I drop the axe, stepping back, the rage draining out of me, leaving only a hollow emptiness. I've crossed a line tonight, one I can't uncross. And the worst part is, I don't know if I regret it. I can't stop thinking about that night. The images keep replaying in my mind, the blood on his face, the fear in her eyes, the weight of the axe in my hands. I'm not the same man I was. Something broke inside me, something dark and uncontrollable, and now I can't put it back together. I should feel remorse, I know that. But all I feel is a hollow satisfaction. They deserved it. They betrayed me, and I punished them. But it's not enough. The anger is still there, simmering beneath the surface, ready to explode again. I need to do more. I need to make sure they never forget what they did to me. I start by manipulating her. It's easier than I thought it would be. She's scared of me now. Every time I walk into a room, I see the tension in her body, the way she flinches when I get too close. I use that fear. I begin to control her every move, keeping her on edge, never letting her forget what she did. I ask her where she's going, who she's talking to, what she's thinking. I watch her constantly, making sure she knows I'm always there, always watching. At first, she tries to resist. She argues, telling me I'm being paranoid, that we need to move past this, but I shut her down quickly. I remind her of what happened, of what I'm capable of. I see the fear in her eyes and it thrills me. She starts to withdraw, becoming more and more isolated. I make sure of that. I don't let her see her friends, don't let her go anywhere without me. I've got her trapped, just like I want her. But it's not enough. I need to get to him too. I need him to suffer the way I've suffered. I start digging into his life, finding out everything I can about him. I learn where he works, where he lives, who he spends his time with. I start showing up at his office just to remind him I'm still here. I see the fear in his eyes too, the way he avoids looking at me, the way he trembles when I get too close. It's intoxicating. One night I follow him home. I stay in my car, parked down the street, watching as he goes inside. I sit there for hours thinking about what I could do to him, how I could ruin his life the way he ruined mine. The thoughts are dark, violent, and I revel in them, but I know I have to be careful. I can't get caught. Not yet. So I bide my time, planning every detail, making sure everything will be perfect. I start sending him messages, taunting him, reminding him of what he did. I want him to feel the same fear and helplessness I felt. I want him to know that I'm coming for him, but I don't want him to know when. It's a game and I'm in control. Meanwhile, at home, things with her continue to spiral. She's a shell of the woman she once was, and I barely recognize her anymore. She spends most of her time in the bedroom, avoiding me as much as possible. I let her. I want her to feel trapped, alone with no one to turn to. I keep the pressure on, making sure she knows she's not safe, not even in her own home. One night, I decide to push her further. I wait until she's in bed, then walk in, standing over her. She looks up at me with wide, terrified eyes, and I can see she's already on the verge of breaking. I lean down, close enough that she can feel my breath on her skin. Do you think about him? I whisper. Do you miss him? She shakes her head, tears filling her eyes. No, please, I don't. I don't think about him. Liar. My voice is low, dangerous. I grab her wrist, pulling her up so that our faces are inches apart. I know you think about him. You think about how it felt to be with him, don't you? You can't stop thinking about it. She sobs, trying to pull away, but I hold her there, forcing her to look at me. I didn't mean to, she starts, but I cut her off. Didn't mean to what? Didn't mean to cheat? Didn't mean to betray me? You think saying sorry makes it all better? She's crying harder now, and I can see the panic in her eyes. But I don't let go. I want her to feel every bit of the pain she caused me. I want her to know what it's like to be powerless. I'm going to make sure you never forget what you did, I whisper, my voice cold. Every time you look at me, you are going to remember how you destroyed our life, and you're going to regret it. She breaks down completely, sobbing uncontrollably. I release her, watching as she crumples onto the bed. There's a sick satisfaction in seeing her like this, knowing I've broken her spirit, but it's not enough. I still want more. The next day, I set my trap. I send her lover another message, telling him to meet her at the same sauna. I know he'll come. He's terrified, but he's still hooked on her. He can't resist the chance to see her again. And she, desperate to appease me, goes along with it, too broken to argue. I watch them from a distance, hidden in the shadows. I see them meet, their interaction tense and awkward. They both know I'm watching, but they don't know what I'm going to do. That's the beauty of it. I've got them both so scared, so unsure, that they'll do anything to avoid setting me off. When they finally leave the sauna, I follow them. They're walking together, talking in hushed tones, looking over their shoulders. I let them think they're safe. Let them get comfortable. Then, when they least expect it, I make my move. I step out in front of them, blocking their path. They freeze, fear flashing across their faces. For a moment, no one moves. The tension is so thick, it's suffocating. You think you can meet up behind my back? I say, my voice low and menacing. You think I wouldn't find out? We weren't, her lover starts, but I cut him off. Shut up, I snap, taking a step closer. I don't want it to hear any more of your lies. My wife reaches for me, trying to calm me down, but I push her away. Don't touch me, I growl. You're just as guilty as he is. They both look terrified, and it sends a thrill through me. I've got them exactly where I want them. Scared, helpless, and completely at my mercy. Get in the car, I order, nodding toward my vehicle parked nearby. They hesitate, but one look at my face and they know better than to refuse. They get in and I drive, my mind racing with what I'm about to do. I take them to an isolated spot, far from anyone who could hear them scream. When we get there, I make them get out. I've planned this moment for days, thinking of every detail, every way I can make them suffer. Please, my wife begs, her voice trembling. You don't have to do this. Don't I ask, pulling the rope and duct tape from the trunk. I think I do. I tie them up, making sure the bonds are tight. They're both crying now, pleading for their lives, but I'm past the point of caring. All I see is the betrayal, the lies, and the need for revenge that's consumed me. I force them to face each other, making them look into each other's eyes. You destroyed my life, I say, my voice low and cold. Now you're going to pay. I leave them there tied up and terrified, knowing it's not over. Not yet. There's still more I can do, more ways I can make them regret ever crossing me. As I drive away, I feel a twisted sense of satisfaction. I'm in control now, and they'll never escape the hell I've created for them. I watch them, bound and terrified, as the sun starts to set. The dim light casts long shadows, making everything look darker, more sinister. They're both crying, pleading with me, but I tune it out. I'm beyond listening to their lies. I stand there, silent and still, the axe heavy in my hand. My heart races, but my mind is eerily calm, focused on what needs to be done. This is it, the moment I've been waiting for. The culmination of everything that's happened since that first gut-wrenching moment of betrayal. I'm going to finish this, make sure they pay for what they did. But as I lift the axe, ready to bring it down, something shifts inside me. I hesitate, the blade hovering inches above his head. I can see the terror in his eyes, feel the weight of the decision I'm about to make. This isn't just about revenge anymore. It's about who I am, what I'm becoming. I've already crossed so many lines. How much further am I willing to go? She's sobbing uncontrollably, her voice hoarse from screaming. Please, don't do this. We're sorry. We're so sorry. Just let us go. We won't tell anyone, please. Her words pierce through the fog of rage that's been clouding my mind. For a moment, I see her not as the woman who betrayed me, but as the woman I once loved. The woman I still love, despite everything. The realization hits me hard, almost knocking the wind out of me. What am I doing? How did it come to this? I lower the axe, my hands shaking. I can't do it. I thought I could, but I can't. Killing them won't bring back what we lost. It won't erase the pain, won't make me whole again. It will only make me something I'm not, a murderer. I step back, breathing heavily, the axe slipping from my grasp. It hits the ground with a dull thud, the sound echoing in the stillness. I look down at them, bound and helpless, and all I feel is disgust. Disgust with them, with myself, with the situation I've created. But I'm in too deep now. I've gone too far to just walk away. I have to do something. I have to end this, one way or another. My mind races, searching for a way out, a way to fix this mess I've made. But there's no easy solution, no quick escape. The consequences of my actions are catching up with me, and there's no avoiding them. I reach down, cutting the ropes that bind them. They look at me, shocked, confused, too scared to move. Go, I say, my voice flat, emotionless. Get out of here. They don't move at first, too stunned to react. I have to shout at them, ordering them to leave before they finally scramble to their feet and run. I watch them disappear into the night, the sound of their footsteps fading into the distance. I stand there for a long time, staring into the darkness, trying to make sense of what just happened. I should feel relieved that it's over, but all I feel is emptiness. The anger, the rage that drove me to this point, it's gone now, leaving nothing in its place. I'm hollow, a shell of the man I used to be. I drive home in silence, my mind numb. The house is dark when I arrive, the silence oppressive. I walk through the empty rooms, feeling like a stranger in my own home. Everything looks the same, but it's not. Nothing is the same. It never will be. I go to the bathroom and look at myself in the mirror. The man staring back at me is someone I barely recognize. Disheveled, wild-eyed, haunted. This isn't who I am. This isn't who I wanted to be. But it's who I've become, and I don't know how to change that. I splash water on my face, trying to wash away the memories of what I've done. But they cling to me, refusing to let go. I can still hear their screams, see the fear in their eyes. I can still feel the weight of the axe in my hands. I close my eyes, willing it all to go away, but it doesn't. It won't. The next few days pass in a blur. I go through the motions, pretending everything is normal, but nothing is. I'm restless, on edge, waiting for the other shoe to drop. I know it's only a matter of time before the consequences of my actions catch up with me, but I don't know when or how. The uncertainty gnaws at me, driving me to the brink of insanity. Then one night I hear a noise outside. It's late, the house is dark, and at first I think it's just my imagination. But then I hear it again, a soft rustling, like someone moving through the bushes. My heart leaps into my throat, and I grab the nearest thing I can find, a heavy flashlight, and head toward the door. I step outside, the cool night air hitting me like a slap in the face. The noise is coming from the side of the house near the garage. I move slowly, carefully, trying to keep my breathing steady. My mind races with possibilities. Could it be them? Did they come back for revenge? Or is it something else? Something worse? I round the corner, my flashlight beam cutting through the darkness. At first, I see nothing. just shadows and empty space. But then I spot a figure crouched by the garage door, trying to force it open. My blood runs cold. "Who's there?" I shout, my voice trembling slightly. The figure freezes, then slowly turns to face me. The flashlight beam catches them in the face, and I see who it is. It's him, my wife's lover. "What the hell are you doing here?" I demand, stepping closer, my grip tightening on the flashlight. He stands up slowly, hands raised in a placating gesture. "I just want to talk," he says, his voice shaky. "Please, I'm not here to cause trouble. I just need to talk to you." "Talk?" I scoff, taking another step forward. "You think I want to talk to you after everything you've done?" "Please," he repeats, his voice cracking. "I'm sorry. I know I messed up. I know we both did. But this has to stop. We can't keep living like this." His words hit me like a punch to the gut. He's right, but I don't want to admit it. I don't want to admit that this endless cycle of revenge and fear is destroying all of us. But I don't know how to stop it either. He sees my hesitation and takes a step forward, his hand still raised. "Look, I'm not here to fight. I'm not here to hurt you. I just want to talk. Please, just give me a chance about it." I lower the flashlight slightly, but I don't let go of it. "Fine," I say through gritted teeth. "Talk." He takes a deep breath, as if steeling himself for what he's about to say. "I know you hate me. I know you have every right to, but this can't go on. We're all going to destroy each other if it does. I can't live like this, and neither can she. We need to figure out a way to move on, to end this madness." His words stir something in me, something I've been trying to ignore. He's right. I've been so consumed by my need for revenge that I've lost sight of everything else, myself, my marriage, my life. But hearing it from him, the man who ruined everything, feels like a betrayal of the anger I've held on to for so long. "And what do you suggest?" I asked, my voice cold. "You think we can just pretend none of this ever happened? That we can just go back to the way things were?" "No," he says quietly. "We can't. But we can try to move forward. We can try to find some way to live with what's happened instead of letting it destroy us." I want to laugh in his face, to tell him how ridiculous he sounds, but I can't, because deep down I know he's right. If I keep going down this path, I'm going to lose everything. My sanity, my freedom, my life. But I'm not ready to forgive. I'm not ready to forget. I don't know if I ever will be. "I'll think about it," I finally say, the words bitter in my mouth. He nods, relieved. "That's all I'm asking for." He turns to leave, but before he goes, he pauses, looking back at me. "I'm sorry," he says again, his voice thick with emotion, "for everything." And then he's gone, disappearing into the night, leaving me alone with my thoughts. I stand there for a long time, staring at the spot where he stood, trying to process everything that just happened. I've reached the end of my rope, but I don't know what comes next. All I know is that something has to change, or I'm going to lose myself completely. I spend the next few days locked in my own head, trying to figure out how to fix the mess I've made. The rage that drove me before is gone, replaced by a crushing sense of guilt and paranoia. I can't sleep, can't eat, can't think straight. All I see are the consequences of what I've done, spiraling out in front of me like a nightmare I can't wake up from. I keep replaying that night in my mind over and over, searching for a way to undo it. But there's no undoing it. I went too far, and now I have to live with it. But how? How do I live with myself after everything I've done? How do I face her, knowing what I've become? She's still here, still in the house, but we barely speak. I see the fear in her eyes every time she looks at me, the way she tenses up when I get too close. I've broken something between us, something that can't be fixed. And yet I can't let her go. I'm still holding on, clinging to the shattered pieces of what we had, even though I know it's gone. I spend hours pacing the house trying to come up with a plan. I need to cover my tracks, make sure no one finds out what happened. But every idea I come up with feels inadequate, doomed to fail. I'm in over my head, drowning in the consequences of my own actions. The paranoia is the worst part. I'm constantly looking over my shoulder, jumping at every sound, convinced that someone is coming for me. I know it's only a matter of time before the truth catches up with me. The police, the neighbors, the people at work. Someone is going to figure it out, and then it will all be over. But the more I think about it, the more I realize that the real threat isn't from the outside. It's from within. I'm losing control, unraveling faster than I can keep up. I'm haunted by the faces of those I've hurt, by the choices I've made. And the worst part is, I can't stop. I can't just turn it off and go back to the way things were. I'm trapped in this nightmare, and there's no way out. One night, after hours of pacing and thinking, I come to a decision. I can't keep living like this. I need to do something, anything, to take back control. I need to make a choice, to either come clean or double down and cover my tracks. But either way, I have to act, or I'm going to lose what little is left of my sanity. I start with the car. It's been sitting in the garage, a silent witness to everything that's happened. I need to get rid of it, erase any trace of what I've done. I spend hours scrubbing it down, cleaning every inch, making sure there's no evidence left. Then I drive it to a remote location and abandon it, walking the long way home to make sure I'm not seen. Next, I turn my attention to her. I can't let her leave, can't risk her going to the police or telling anyone what happened. I need to keep her close, keep her under control. I start by taking her phone, cutting off her access to the outside world. Then I begin isolating her further, making sure she has no contact with anyone. It's brutal, but necessary. I can't afford any loose ends. But the more I try to control the situation, the more it spirals out of my grasp. She's slipping away from me, retreating further into herself, becoming a ghost in her own home. I see the fear in her eyes, the way she looks at me like I'm a monster. And maybe I am, but I can't stop now. I have to see this through, no matter the cost. One day I come home to find her standing by the front door, her bags packed. She's shaking, her eyes wide with fear, but there's a determination in her that wasn't there before. She's going to leave, I realize. She's going to try to get away from me. No, I say, my voice cold and hard. You're not going anywhere. She flinches but stands her ground. I can't stay here, she whispers, her voice trembling. I can't do this anymore. You don't have a choice, I snap, stepping closer. You think you can just walk away after everything? You think I'm going to let you go? Tears spill down her cheeks, but she doesn't back down. Please, she begs. Just let me go. I won't tell anyone, I swear. But I can't believe her. I can't trust her. If I let her leave, it's all over. She'll go to the police, she'll tell them everything, and I'll be finished. I can't let that happen. I won't. I grab her arm, forcing her to drop the bags. She struggles, but I'm stronger. I drag her back inside, locking the door behind us. She's crying, pleading with me, but I don't listen. I can't. I'm too far gone to listen. I lock her in the bedroom, taking away the key. She pounds on the door, screaming for me to let her out, but I ignore her. I need time to think, time to figure out what to do next. But as the hours pass, the sound of her crying starts to get to me. It echoes through the house, a constant reminder of what I've become. I sit in the living room, staring at the wall, trying to block it out, but I can't. It's like a knife in my brain, cutting deeper with every plea for mercy. And I realize with a sickening clarity that I can't keep doing this. I can't keep her locked up forever. Eventually someone will notice. Eventually someone will come looking. I need to end this. One way or another, it has to stop. The next morning, I unlock the door and step inside. She's huddled on the bed, looking up at me with a mixture of fear and hope. I sit down next to her, my mind racing, trying to figure out what to say, what to do. I'm sorry, I finally whisper, my voice barely audible. I never wanted it to come to this. She doesn't respond, just watches me with those haunted eyes. And I realize that there's no coming back from this. I've lost her, lost everything, and there's nothing I can do to change that. I'm going to let you go, I say, the words tasting bitter in my mouth. You can leave. I won't stop you. Her eyes widened in surprise, disbelief. Why? She asked, her voice trembling. Because I can't do this anymore, I admit. I can't keep you here. It's not right. She's silent for a long time, and I can see the gears turning in her head, trying to decide if she can trust me. Finally, she nods, slowly, cautiously. Okay, she whispers. Thank you. I stand up, unlocking the door and stepping aside to let her pass. She hesitates, looking back at me one last time before she grabs her bags and heads for the door. I watch her go, feeling a strange mix of relief and despair. As the door closes behind her, the house falls into a heavy silence. It's over. I've let her go. And now all that's left is the fallout. I sit down on the couch, my head in my hands, trying to make sense of what I've done. I thought I could control everything, keep it all from falling apart. But I was wrong. I've lost everything, my wife, my sanity, my life. And now I'm left with nothing but the consequences of my actions. The guilt, the paranoia, the fear, they're all I have left. And I don't know how much longer I can live with them. I know I should turn myself in, confess to everything, face the consequences. But I can't bring myself to do it. I'm too scared, too broken. So I sit here alone, waiting for the inevitable, waiting for the day when it all comes crashing down around me. And in the meantime, I try to piece together what's left of my life, knowing that it will never be the same again. I sit alone in the dark, the silence pressing in on me. It's been days since she left, and I haven't heard a word. The house feels empty, like a hollow shell that echoes with memories I'd rather forget. I'm haunted by the things I've done, the lines I've crossed. Every night the walls close in a little tighter, the guilt weighing heavier on my chest. I try to go back to some semblance of normal life, but it's impossible. The routine that used to give me comfort now feels like a noose tightening around my neck. I can barely bring myself to go to work, and when I do, everyone seems to notice the change. I catch their glances, the way they talk in hushed tones when I walk by. They know something's wrong. I can feel it. The paranoia creeps in, growing stronger by the day. I'm convinced that any minute now, everything is going to come crashing down. I keep expecting the police to show up at my door, to see blue lights flashing through the windows. But so far, nothing. No one's come, no one's called, and that only makes it worse. The waiting, the not knowing, it's eating me alive. I start to see her in everything. A glimpse of blonde hair in a crowd, a familiar laugh on the street. It's like she's haunting me, even though I know she's gone. I can't escape her, can't escape what I did to her, what I did to us. The memories play on a loop in my mind, the violence, the rage, the moment I realized I'd gone too far. And then one night it happens. A knock on the door. My heart leaps into my throat. This is it. I'm sure of it. I freeze, my hand halfway to the door, unable to move. The knock comes again, louder this time, more insistent. I force myself to breathe, to think, but my mind is racing. What if it's her? What if she's come back to finish what I started? I open the door slowly, my breath caught in my chest. But it's not her. It's the police. Two officers standing on my doorstep, their faces unreadable. I try to keep my voice steady as I ask what they want, but I know they can hear the fear in my words. We need to ask you some questions, one of them says, his tone clipped. Professional. May we come in? I nod, stepping aside to let them in. My mind is spinning, trying to figure out what they know, how much they found out. Did she go to them? Did she tell them everything? They sit across from me in the living room, their eyes boring into me, searching for cracks in my facade. I do my best to keep my composure, to act like I have nothing to hide, but I can feel the walls closing in around me. We've had a report of some unusual activity, the other officer says, pulling out a notepad. Can you tell us where you were on the night of... He gives a date, and my blood runs cold. It's the night everything went to hell, the night I nearly killed them both. I try to answer, but the words stick in my throat. My mind races, searching for a lie, an excuse, anything to get them off my back. But I can't think, can't focus. I can barely breathe. I feel like I'm drowning, the room spinning around me. I was home, I finally managed to stammer. I was home all night. The officers exchange a glance, and I know they don't believe me. I can see it in their eyes. They know something's wrong. They can smell the fear on me. Are you sure about that? The first officer asks, his voice hardening. Because we've spoken to some of your neighbors, and they say they saw you leave late that night. Panic grips me like a vice. They know. They know I wasn't home. They know I was out there doing God knows what. I open my mouth to respond, but no words come out. My mind is blank, my body frozen. I can't think, can't move. The second officer leans forward, his eyes locked on mine. Look, we're just trying to get to the bottom of this. If there's something you want to tell us, now's the time. We can help you, but you need to be honest with us. My heart races, the walls closing in tighter, suffocating me. I know I should confess, tell them everything, but I can't. The fear is too strong, the guilt too heavy. I can't admit what I've done, can't face the consequences. I, I didn't do anything, I stammer, my voice barely above a whisper. I don't know what you're talking about. The officers exchange another glance, and I can see the suspicion in their eyes. They don't believe me. They know I'm hiding something, but they can't prove it. Not yet. We'll be in touch, the first officer says as they stand to leave. If you remember anything else, you should call us. I nod numbly, barely aware of what I'm doing. My mind is a whirlwind of fear and paranoia, the walls closing in tighter with every passing second. I'm trapped, caught in a web of my own making, and there's no way out. After they leave, I collapse onto the couch, my hands shaking uncontrollably. I'm losing it. I'm losing control of everything, and I don't know how much longer I can hold on. The fear, the guilt, it's all too much. It's tearing me apart piece by piece until there's nothing left. Days pass in a blur of fear and paranoia. I barely eat, barely sleep. I'm haunted by the thought of those officers coming back, of the truth finally catching up with me. I jump at every sound, every shadow, convinced that someone is coming to get me. Then one day it all comes crashing down. I'm at work, trying to focus, trying to act like everything is normal when I see her. My wife. She's standing in the doorway of my office, her eyes locked on mine. My heart skips a beat, the fear rising up in my throat. She looks different, stronger somehow. There's no fear in her eyes, no hesitation. She steps into the room, closing the door behind her. And I know this is it. This is the end. I can't do this anymore, she says, her voice steady, calm. I'm done. I open my mouth to respond, but she cuts me off. You need to stop, she says, her voice firm. You need to let go of this, of everything. It's over. It's been over for a long time. Her words hit me like a slap to the face. I want to argue, to fight, but I can't. She's right. It is over. It's been over since that night, since the moment I crossed that line. I've been clinging to a ghost, a memory, and it's destroyed everything. I'm sorry, I finally whisper, the words bitter in my mouth. I never wanted it to come to this. She nods, her expression softening. I know, she says quietly, but it did, and now we need to move on. I nod, the weight of her words sinking in. I know she's right. I know I need to let go, to stop this madness before it destroys what little is left. But I don't know how. I don't know how to move on from the wreckage I've created. I'm going to the police, she says, her voice trembling slightly. I'm going to tell them everything. My heart stops. The fear grips me again, stronger this time, more suffocating. No, I whisper, shaking my head. You can't. Please don't. I have to, she says, tears filling her eyes. It's the only way, for both of us. The room spins, my breath coming in sharp gasps. I can't let her do this. I can't let her ruin everything. But deep down, I know it's already ruined. There's nothing left to save. She turns to leave, and I know this is the end. I know that once she walks out that door, it's all over. The fear, the guilt, the lies, they'll all come crashing down on me, and there's no way out. But as she reaches for the doorknob, something inside me snaps. The fear, the guilt, It all fades away, replaced by a cold, hard clarity. I've lost everything. There's nothing left to fight for, nothing left to lose. Wait, I say, my voice stronger than before. She turns back to me, her eyes wide with surprise. I'll go with you, I say, the words firm, final. I'll go to the police. I'll tell them everything. Her eyes soften, tears spilling down her cheeks. She nods, and for the first time in what feels like forever, I feel a sense of peace. The fear, the guilt, it's still there, but it's muted, distant, like a storm that's finally passed. We leave the office together, walking out into the bright sunlight. The world seems different, sharper, more real. I take a deep breath, feeling the weight lift from my shoulders. It's over. It's finally over. But as we walk toward the police station, I can't help but wonder what comes next. The future is a blank slate, a mystery I'm not sure I'm ready to face. But for the first time in a long time, I'm not afraid. I'm ready to accept whatever comes, to face the consequences of my actions, and to start over. As we reach the station, she turns to me, her eyes filled with something I haven't seen in a long time. Hope. I nod, and we walk inside together, ready to face the reckoning I know is long overdue. I sit in the interrogation room, the walls closing in around me. The air is thick, heavy with the weight of everything that's happened. My hands tremble as I clasp them together on the table, the cold metal cuffs digging into my wrists. The officer across from me is silent, watching, waiting for me to speak, but I don't know where to start. How do you confess to something like this? How do you even begin to put into words the madness that consumed you? The darkness that drove you to do things you never thought you were capable of? The door creaks open and she walks in, my wife. Her face is pale, her eyes red from crying, but there's a strength in her that wasn't there before. She sits down across from me, the officer stepping back to give us space. We're alone, but the room feels crowded with the ghosts of everything that's happened. For a long time, we just sit there, the silence stretching between us like a chasm. I want to say something, anything, but the words are stuck in my throat. I can see the pain in her eyes, the hurt I caused, and it's like a knife twisting in my gut. Finally, she speaks. Her voice is quiet, but it cuts through the silence like a blade. Why? That one word breaks something inside me. The dam I've been holding back finally bursts, and the words spill out in a rush. I tell her everything, how it started, the rage, the obsession, the fear that consumed me. I tell her about the nights I spent plotting revenge, the sick satisfaction I felt as I watched them suffer. I don't hold back. She deserves to know the truth. All of it. She listens, her face unreadable, but I can see the tears glistening in her eyes. When I finish, the room falls silent again, the weight of my confession hanging heavy in the air. I feel empty, drained, like I've given away the last piece of myself. She takes a deep breath, wiping away a tear that slips down her cheek. I'm sorry, she whispers, her voice trembling. I'm so sorry for everything. I shake my head, the guilt overwhelming me. No, don't apologize. This is on me. I'm the one who did this. I'm the one who let it get this far. She reaches across the table, her hand brushing against mine. It's the first time we've touched in what feels like forever, and it sends a jolt through my yank. We both made mistakes, she says softly. But this, it doesn't have to be the end. I look up at her, surprised. What do you mean? We can try to move forward, she says, her voice steady. It won't be easy, and it won't happen overnight. But maybe we can find a way to heal. Together. Her words hit me like a lifeline, pulling me out of the darkness. But I know it's not that simple. I don't know if I can, I admit. I don't know if I deserve that. It's not about deserving, she says, squeezing my hand. It's about trying. It's about finding a way to live with what happened and not letting it destroy us. I nod, swallowing hard. I want to try, I whisper. But I don't know where to start. We'll figure it out, she says, her voice filled with a quiet determination. One step at a time. We sit there for a while longer, the silence between us no longer heavy with tension, but with something else. Hope. It's fragile, like flickering flame, but it's there. And for the first time in a long time, I feel like maybe, just maybe, there's a way out of this darkness. The door opens and the officer steps back in. "It's time," he says, his voice breaking the moment. I nod, standing up slowly, the weight of what's to come settling on my shoulders. She stands too, her hand slipping out of mine, and I feel the loss immediately. But as I look at her, I see something in her eyes that gives me strength, a promise that she'll be there, that we'll face this together. They take me away, leading me down a long hallway to the courtroom. The trial is a blur. Questions, testimonies, the faces of strangers judging me for the things I've done. I don't argue, don't try to defend myself. I know what I did, and I'm ready to face the consequences. When it's over, the sentence is handed down. It's harsh, but fair. I nod, accepting it. I'm ready to pay for my crimes, ready to take the first step toward redemption, whatever that looks like. As they lead me out of the courtroom, I catch one last glimpse of her. She's standing in the back, her eyes locked on mine, and for a moment, everything else fades away. In that look, I see everything: pain, regret, but also something more. There's a future there, uncertain and fragile, but it's there, and it's enough to keep me going. They take me back to my cell, the door clanging shut behind me. The room is cold, the walls closing in, but I don't feel alone. I close my eyes, letting out a long breath. This is the beginning of something new. The path ahead is dark and filled with unknowns, but I'm not afraid. I'll face it, one day at a time. The days stretch into weeks, the weeks into months. Time passes slowly in here, but I'm learning to live with it. I write to her, and she writes back. Our letters becoming a lifeline that keeps me tethered to the world outside. It's not much, but it's enough. I spend my days reflecting on the choices I made, the man I became. I can't change the past, can't undo the hurt I caused, but I can learn from it. I can try to be better, to be the man she believed I could be. It's a long road, but for the first time in a long time, I'm willing to walk it. The story doesn't end here. It doesn't end with me in this cell or with the sentence I'm serving. It's just another chapter in a life that's far from over. The future is still a question, still filled with uncertainty, but that's okay. I'm ready to face whatever comes next. And as I close my eyes, drifting off to sleep, I know one thing for sure: this isn't the end. It's just the beginning of something new, something better, and that's enough to give me hope.